College football is over, the NFL is winding down, and as we turn our attention to the ice and hardwood until Sunday, January 22nd, we are slashing NBA, college basketball, and NHL season passes from $4.59 all the way down to $2.99 with no coupon needed. This special price locks in your favorite handicappers in the sport of your choice through the championship for pennies on the dollar versus buying daily packages. And since the price will remain $2.99 through midnight on January 22nd, the earlier you buy, the more days you get included at no additional cost. How much are you saving? College basketball comes to just $3.55 per day through March Madness, and the NBA and NHL discounts come out to just under $60 per month to lock in your favorite handicapper through the finals or Stanley Cup. Go to your favorite handicappers page at WagerTalk and or Sports Memo and lock in your sports through the championship for only $2.99 each. If you want to combine handicappers or multiple sports, email us and we can work out an even more significant discount for you.
It is Tuesday, January the 17th, and this is WagerTalk Today, and we are live at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, every weekday, Monday through Friday, right here on WagerTalk TV. And don't forget about the WagerTalk TV app for your favorite mobile device. You can watch us on the go anytime, day or night. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez all week because, as we said yesterday, it's a Prez-free zone all week here, Monday through Friday. That means my co-host, Teddy Covers, has a big smile. Look at that, a big smile on his face already, and we haven't even started. But it is a loaded card Tuesday for Teddy Covers and myself here on WagerTalk Today. Teddy, what are we looking at?
Well, we're going to open up the show. We got Eric Pauly. He's a $2 Tuesday handicapper over at Sports Memo today. He's going to break down a couple of NFL playoff games for this weekend. We're talking the Bengals and the Bills, the Cowboys, and the 49ers. Matt Joesphs going to join us next, talking some college hoops. VCU against UMass and Wake Forest against Clemson. My big game breakdown comes in college hoops tonight as well. We'll talk a little South Carolina Ole Miss. And we'll have Dave Sharapan joining us to close out the show, get a look from the other side of the counter. Dave, of course, a veteran odds maker, both here in Las Vegas and in the offshore world. He's going to share his thoughts on the playoffs, on NFL, on NBA, college hoops, and NHL as well. So it is a loaded Tuesday show. Let's get right in.
Yeah, let's bring on Eric Pauly. You know, last time I saw Eric, we were playing basketball in August in Las Vegas. He's actually a pretty good basketball player, and we were eating sushi. Need to know if you've had any sea urchin, any uni since you had it in August with us, Eric. And welcome to the show. And look, right out of the gate, you know, NFL playoff wildcard round ended last night, but we're starting right off with some divisional round talk with you on Tuesday. I love that you're talking these two games. And welcome to the show. And let's start off in the AFC. You know, I think the Chiefs obviously have a huge break catch in Jacksonville, whereas the Bengals and Bills now have to play in the semifinals, basically, of the conference. How are you approaching this one? By the way, weather looks clear in all four games this weekend. It's going to be cold, obviously. Cincinnati and Buffalo is used to that, unlike Miami. Bills kind of escaped last week, Eric. How are you attacking this one? Bengals, Bills. I guess you could say the Bengals escaped as well.
Yeah, so this is a matchup where I'm certainly leaning toward the Bengals plus the 5 points. Just a couple of weeks ago when these two teams faced off, it was Buffalo minus 2.5 in Cincinnati. And now, like you said, the weather is not going to be too bad. Even if it's cold, the Bengals are used to it. So now you're telling me that the Bills are really 5-point favorites over the Bengals at home. I'm not sure if I'm buying that. Obviously, that game was suspended for good reason and voided. But the Bengals are really controlling that matchup. And over the last couple of weeks, Josh Allen's turnover bug has been really concerning. And this defense has not been able to stop anybody. I think the Bengals overall, while I have Buffalo rated slightly higher, has the better roster right now. They're playing hotter, and I expect them to cover 5 points. I think that number is a little bit overvalued. Give me that value, having the key number of 3 covered, and then 2 more points. I'm rolling with the Bengals in this one.
So how concerned are you about Cincinnati's offensive line? Because my first gut reaction is look at Cincy plus. But I'm scared as hell about that offensive line. They're missing both starting tackles this week. They could be without guard Alex Kappa as well. And one thing you don't want against the Bills front is a banged up offensive line. We saw Baltimore pretty much control the line of scrimmage last week against Cincinnati, and the Bengals offensive line doesn't look any healthier this time around. How much does that concern you? Because this time, both teams won't be facing a backup or third string quarterback. But in particular, when we look at how Cincy was able to survive and advance past Baltimore, they wouldn't have done it. I mean, everyone said after the game they wouldn't have done it if Lamar Jackson was on the field, and I agree with that. Cincy's offensive line. Tell me about how worried you are and how they're going to counter to hang within the number against Buffalo.
Yeah, so continuity is the biggest factor when it comes to offensive line play. Obviously, if you have guys who are familiar with each other, it makes it a lot easier in terms of trust for coverages and schematics in that sense. I am concerned considering that this Bengals offensive line was together all season long until the final 2 weeks of the regular season, and then now that first wildcard game against the Ravens. And I kind of chalk up that Ravens game to just that divisional matchup. That's the third time that those two teams have played this year, and that other time they played was literally a week prior. So while I am concerned going against this Buffalo Bills front that is deep, it's not necessarily loaded in terms of maximized talent with Von Miller hurt. Yes, they will be rotating pieces in and have healthy legs going. But looking at the offensive line that Bengals were able to win with last season, even with these three kind of changes this late in the season, I'm not overly concerned. I think that's already baked into the number, and I still feel comfortable with the Bengals in the 5 here.
It's Eric Pauly. You can find him at sportsmemo.com, and it is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. And guess what? Teddy covers is the $2 cap with an NBA best bet. So get Teddy's $2 best bet at WagerTalk. But I don't want to say it's a better deal, but it is. 3 for 5 is actually $1.67 Tuesday. And that's Eric Pauly, Matt Joesphs, and UCAP or Ronald Kabang. 3 names that you all recognize from shows here. And Matt will join us a little bit. So check out Eric Pauly's NFL Divisional Dog, number 1 NFL the last 30 days in the NFL. Sportsmemo.com for the 3 for 5. And Teddy, $2 Tuesday, WagerTalk.com. By the way, when that game was suspended, Eric, Bengals were an in-game 3 to 3.5 point favorite. Total was around 56. I remember because I had the over 49.5 or so, closed 51, and I was thinking we were in good shape. It was 7-3 Bengals. They did have about a 65% chance of winning that game at the time it was frozen versus just 43 when it started as a 2.5 point dog. So we'll see how this one plays out in the rematch. Another NFL game to talk about this weekend in the divisional round. We've got the Cowboys who won easily last night at Tampa, traveling now with less rest to San Fran. And just heard a stat today that teams with 2 days less rest on the road, 9-24 straight up. So it's an angle that maybe favors the 49ers here. Do you agree?
Yeah, I certainly agree. I'm on the 49ers here. And while obviously I don't love the 3.5 because that key number of 3 now is captured by Dallas, I expect this to actually go closer to 4.5 or 5 by kickoff. Like you just mentioned there, Steve, the rest is one of the biggest pieces for me. Also, the injuries that Dallas has been sustaining over the last couple of weeks are slowly adding up. They also have to go from the East Coast all the way to Santa Clara this week to go against the Niners on that short rest. And that win last night, I mean, they beat a terrible Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, if we're just being honest here. Yes, the Dak and the Cowboys looked good. However, again, I think it was because of that competition. This 49ers team was just absolutely rolling. I actually put more stock in their win against the Seahawks than I do against the Cowboys' win against the Buccaneers. You know, beating a team 3 times in the season, especially as convincingly as the Niners did it, is just really impressive to me. They're loaded on both sides of the ball. Dallas overrated defensively. I think Brock Purdy and the Niners and that defense go and have a great game and win and cover against the Cowboys in the divisional round.
All right. I got to push back on this. Dallas overrated defensively?
Yes,
I watched Dallas
100%.
go 4-1 with Cooper Rush behind center. I watched Dallas dominate team after team defensively. I watched the pass rush blow up the line of scrimmage against teams with good pass rushes. I lost my season win bet on the Dallas Cowboys under the total because that Dallas defense was good enough for them to win games even when they had no offensive weapons. Mm-hmm. What makes you think Dallas's defense is overrated? Tell me, I mean, explain that to me, because to me, I've learned the hard way. This defense is not overrated. They're loaded, and they're making plays every week, and they're capable of letting down. Now they're going up against a third-string QB, and they're capable of winning games by themselves.
Yes, I'm just going to disagree with you flat out here. I think that for starters, yes, the defensive line is the high point of this defense. I think their secondary is very banged up and in turn is not as good as it was to start the season. I know you did mention that Cooper Rush, they went 4-1, but that was, again, this season, as the season has progressed, as also a couple of injuries trickled into that defense, especially the secondary, this team has gotten worse and worse. We've seen them play down to teams like the Texans, like the Commanders, and some other matchups where they barely squeaked out wins or even lost to inferior opponents. And now they're going against the best that the NFC has to offer. And you're going against a great offensive line with a myriad of weapons that the Buccaneers do not compare with. I just think that considering how this secondary has been performing, that Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, they're going to be able to get the ball, get yards after the catch, and kind of expose this defense if it hasn't really sometimes been exposed to date, because I don't think that this defense is as good as advertised.
And that game's a late game on Sunday night at 6:30 Eastern. Of course, the Niners played the early game Saturday. Dallas played the Monday night, so that's why Dallas has 2 days less rest, having to travel after already traveling last week, although it was a fairly easy win for them last night. We'll see if that makes a difference. But right now, San Fran on that 3.5. Caesars has a 4. I see one of the sharper international books, -3.5 even. So we'll see where this line hangs. But right now, it's a pretty solid 3.5 out there. And as Eric said, 3 pretty key number, total 46.5. Eric, Pauly, $5 gets you 3 strong best bets at sportsmemo.com, and you are part of that package today with a powerful NFL divisional dog. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I obviously broke down these 2 games, but my favorite game of the season, my favorite play of the postseason, I should say, comes in this Eagles-Giants matchup. I really lean toward a side there. It's been a beyond profitable NFL season, number 1 in units won on sportsmemo.com. So looking to capitalize there and make some money with this $2 Tuesday play on the Eagles-Giants this week.
Yeah, once again, you get a 3 for $5. You get Eric's NFL best bet. Capper's got a Tuesday NBA best bet. And then Matt Joesphs, who's coming on a little bit, has a NFL team total. He's the prop master over there at Sports Memo. So 3 for $5, sportsmemo.com. Eric, Pauly, thank you. Great to see you. And Teddy covers $2 Tuesday. So we just learned that. $2 Tuesday NBA best bet tonight, Teddy, for you at WagerTalk.com. What else can we learn in the world of sports betting?
Well, we have to talk about the evolving sports betting marketplace, because this really stood out like a sore thumb yesterday. We talk about what bettors learned last night. MLK Day unders was a thing. It was a big thing in the aughts, and the concept is simple. You bet all the early start games in the NBA under. The NBA is, how do we say it, a night lifestyle league? The day games expected to be sluggish, especially with teams that don't get to play many day games. And on MLK Day, that is the case. Now, betting the unders on MLK Day in NBA hasn't been a bet it blindly moneymaker for at least the last decade. Although 2022 was pretty good to the under. Last year, the 3 earliest start games all stayed way under and ended up going 5-3 to the under in the day games. So I guess all of a sudden people thought it was a thing again yesterday. It wasn't. Boston, Charlotte goes over by 18.5. Indiana, Milwaukee goes over by 25. Toronto, New York went over in regulation and then flew over in overtime. Golden State, Washington went over by 10. Miami, Atlanta went over by 11. Utah, Minnesota went over by 19. Phoenix, Memphis went over by 11. All of these going over by double-digit margins. Cleveland, New Orleans, the only early start game that did stay under to prevent the perfect sweep. But if you were betting that old trend of MLK Day unders, you did not do well yesterday. The betting marketplace evolves. It's not static. What worked last year or last decade or last century may not work as well today or tomorrow or yesterday. Know that. Stay on top of things. You must always be adapting and evolving. MLK Day unders was worth something. Not worth very much anymore. Certainly wasn't if you bet them yesterday. That's what I learned. Steve Merrill, what about you?
Well, we talked about how NBA games in general have been extremely high scoring this season. There's been less defense than ever, probably on average. We talk about load management. We talked about the other day when we were doing the show, I think on Friday, actually, how this is a time of year where it's kind of the mid-season, where, basically NHL and NBA, they're looking towards the All-Star break in a little bit. They're months away from the playoffs. I think when you don't have intensity, you see that on the defensive side. And over the decades, NBA playoff games have been a couple baskets lower scoring on average than just the regular season. So there again, you don't have that playoff intensity. What's interesting to me, Teddy, is that we had a lot of high scoring NFL playoff games this past weekend. So I'm wondering if something's changing there as well. And I had a couple unders that didn't hit it. Hit both of my sides, but missed my unders, unfortunately. So your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny because I talked about it a little bit on the NFL opening line report yesterday. Of course, every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on WagerTalk TV. You watch Drew Martin and myself break down every game on the board in the NFL. And we talked about it yesterday on the show with all the overs. And I'm like, maybe there's some value with unders this week. But the more I thought about it after I said that, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want to play unders in the NFL right now. All right, the memo is out. that touchdown that the Giants scored where there were like 3 offensive penalties and the ref didn't throw any of them. There was a false start. And there was, a lineman tackled somebody in the end zone. It didn't matter. The league wants offense. Offense draws rating. We need to be aware of that. I'm not playing unders this week in the NFL. I'm not.
Yeah, we're going to actually have Dave Sharapan on in a few minutes. And it was actually Morency, Sharapan, and I were having that discussion. It wasn't you and me, Teddy. It was last Friday when I did Sports Grid. We were talking about how nobody grows up now wanting to be a great defensive player in basketball. That's the discussion we're having. Like, nobody wants to be a Ron Artest or a Dennis Rodman, and it's an interesting point. I mean, people want to score. And I think there's that same mindset with the youth coming up, college sports now, and the pros. And by the way, one guy that maybe had the under last night was the Dallas kicker, because that game landed 45. And the total was anywhere from 40.5 to 45.5 at the close. There were some 45s earlier, and it landed 45. And, of course, you mentioned yesterday how that Bengal-Ravens game, I think, was the one that kind of landed between the opener and the closer as well, when the information came out on the quarterbacks and whatnot. So we had 2 games that basically landed in the middle, but none really went under with authority this week. So we will see if the divisional round is any different on Saturday and Sunday. And once again, Teddy's opening line report for the divisional round was live yesterday, but that doesn't mean you missed it. It's archived 24/7 right here on WagerTalk TV. Download the app as well to catch these shows on replay. Let's bring in mid-major Matt Joesphs from sportsmemo.com. And Teddy covers, once again, the $2 Tuesday capper at WagerTalk with a powerful NBA best bet. But you can also get 3 best bets for $5 at sportsmemo.com. You just heard from Eric Pauly. Another part of that 3-pack is Matt Joesphs. And Matt, let's dive right into it. You love college basketball. You are a college basketball expert, and you also like different angles of playing games. A prop master. You do have a team total prop for the NFL for that $3 for $5 package. But let's look at a money line play here. Let's talk Clemson and Wake Forest, an ACC game tonight in college hoops.
Yeah, I'm on the side of Wake Forest here, and I know that some people think that's really odd because you look at the first meeting way back in December, and you saw a Clemson team dominate the boards. You saw them dominate Wake Forest, win that game by 20. But I think we're getting different teams now, and obviously, look, Clemson's got a 7-game win streak, but you look at their last 2 road games. The Pittsburgh game, they won by 1. They were down in that one and didn't look great. They lost. They won by 3 at Virginia Tech. That was a game the Hokies were up big early and then just kind of couldn't hold on. They didn't have Hunter Couture. It's not a good team without him. And I think this is a great situation. You look at Wake Forest's offense. They are a very solid offensive team. They play great basketball at home. And I think they're going to use the motivation of getting blown out a couple of months ago to this team on their way to the victory. Now, the reason why I play the money line, I'm a little more cautious than other people. It's all about juice tolerance, how much you want to go personally. I don't necessarily have a problem with the spread, but I'm more of a money line guy in this certain situation. Wake Forest is a decent to good free throw shooting team, but I like the comfort of just making sure no shenanigans happen, no backdoors or anything like that. So I like Wake Forest to win this evening.
I'm sorry, I got distracted and don't have a good follow-up question for you because I was getting texted because there's an issue with the play that I put up this morning. But I do want to ask this. I mean, how much of Wake Forest being undefeated at home is a piece of this equation? Is this a home court that we factor in very strongly as a piece of the puzzle? And how much of the undefeated teams playing at home as we get into January, how much of a factor is that for you, Matt? Are those teams that you continue to want to back on their home floor, or does the market really start to catch up with that?
Yeah, I really like Wake Forest's home court. And even when the Wake Forest were bad, when they had some bad teams, they still managed to knock off some teams at home. And now we're kind of getting into that time, January 17th, the students are starting to get back. You had that lull towards the end of December, early January when the students weren't there. It's not a great home court advantage. So you look to play more road teams. Well, look, the students have to be back by now for Wake Forest. And they've got a really good home court advantage. It doesn't apply to everybody necessarily who's undefeated, but having watched a bunch of Wake Forest games, having been to their arena, it's a very nice place. It gets very loud, and I think they'll be very hyped for tonight's game between these two teams.
Yeah, Matt, I've talked about that before, that, the early January, late December home courts maybe aren't as strong as there's less, there's really no students there, like you said. But another little interesting twist to that's that third week of January, because the students are back, but they really don't have any homework yet, any classes. So there's really no reason they won't get a little liquored up and go to some of these basketball games. So I think you can make an argument home court's extremely strong in late January versus early January. And Wake Forest has 20-point revenge, as you mentioned, undefeated home court. Part of the reason we've seen this line go from 2.5 up to -3. and in many locations. And Matt once again likes the money line for the outright win, currently minus 145 up to minus 150. So shop around on that as that line is moving as we speak. All right, Matt and I are Virginia guys. We've worked together for many years on ESPN Richmond, and I know you follow Virginia Commonwealth, Matt, as close as anybody. I don't know if you necessarily have anything on the game tonight, UMass and VCU, but I just definitely wanted to get a take for the viewers and the listeners on Virginia Commonwealth going forward, a 13-5 program so far this season.
Yeah, we've seen some steam on VCU today, and I thought that was a little interesting because the Rams are only 4-4-2 against the spread at home this season, and the Siegel Center, another one of those great atmospheres, especially for big games. It's one of those places that if you're ever in the Virginia area, obviously you want to go check out the JPJ, you want to go to Castle Coliseum, and obviously you want to go to the Siegel Center, but they just have been a very inconsistent team, and as Marco and everybody else likes to point out about the sandwiches, this is about as nasty a sandwich as you can get. Fresh off the Friday night win at UD Arena, which is a huge game. VCU puts a lot of effort into those Dayton games. There's a healthy hatred between the two fan bases for that game. And then, of course, Friday night coming up to this week, it's VCU at Richmond, which Steve will tell you and everybody else who's in this Virginia area knows that is the big rivalry game. So you've got these two big road rivalry games sandwiched in between this UMass game. There is some injury news, a little bit of injury news. Noah Fernandez made the trip for UMass. He's the point guard. He's the guy that stirs the drink for UMass. So we don't know if he's going to play yet. He's listed as questionable. It's about pain tolerance, which is what we've kind of seen. And then R.J. Luis, who is also another vital piece, he participated in shoot-around yesterday, so UMass could be getting a little bit healthier. So I would say as close to tip-off as we can get, wait for some injury news. If those guys are healthy and playing, I'd potentially look at UMass against the steam here and or take a look at the over because there could be some pace in this game. UMass loves to run.
So the Minutemen, they've cost me a little bit of money over the course of the last month or so. They have not been playing great basketball by any stretch of the imaginations, and particularly on the defensive end of the court, there have been a couple of games they've really got run off the floor. Does that concern you in a matchup like this where VCU has the ability? You know, that team can light up the scoreboard when they start shooting. Does that worry you at all in this point spread range for the Minutemen?
When you look at VCU games, the first thing you have to look at is turnover percentage, which unfortunately for UMass is not great. They do turn the ball over, but on the other side, they do force a lot of turnovers. They're top 100 in KenPom in turnover percentage on defense. VCU has been a turnover machine on offense. They are 326. They are turning the ball over on almost 22% of their possessions so far this season. So that probably will help the over here. The one thing I know about VCU is their half-court offense struggles to create shots. They are, Ace Baldwin's a very good point guard, but their offense, when they need to create it, struggles. So if they're forcing turnovers, if they're getting out running and the crowd's getting into it, yes, that could be a problem for UMass. But if they're not forcing turnovers and have to create shots off the half court, that's where VCU really struggles here. And that's kind of one of the things I'm playing on if Fernandez and Luis are playing tonight. If they're not, then I'm sitting this game out. But if those two guys are in there, I think there's some value on UMass, especially at this inflated number.
Yeah, Matt, it's interesting with the line move in this game. You said it's gone from 7.5 to 10.5 VCU. You think, well, maybe UMass can be shorthanded at that point guard position, yet the over's gone from 141.5 up to 144. So we've seen VCU money and the over money, and it's hard not to like the over in this game. UMass, one of the top 30 pace teams in the country, and VCU in the top 100 as well. So both teams, I think, will look to play fast. And if it is a sandwich letdown spot, which I agree it looks like, usually that shows on the defensive side as well, like we were talking about earlier with a lot of points in modern day sports and less defense than ever. That's Matt Joesphs. He knows his Virginia basketball. He knows his college hoops in general. He also knows his props. He's the prop master at sportsmemo.com. And part of that 3 for $5 special today is a team total for Saturday in the NFL. And I consider that a prop, Matt. Tell us a little bit more about that at sportsmemo.com.
Yeah, it's a first half team total. You love to play these sort of things. There are certain teams who are really good in the first half. There are certain defenses that struggle right out of the gate. So we're taking advantage of one of those situations here. So we're looking at a first half team total in this weekend's NFL playoffs. As you just said, 3 for $5 is a great deal.
It's a fantastic deal. And that's sportsmemo.com. You got to go to Sports Memo. It's not Wager Talk. Sportsmemo.com gets you 3 strong best bets for $5, including Matt Joesphs, as you just heard. And don't forget, it is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com, and Teddy Covers is the $2 capper today. He's got a strong NBA best bet. And how has his basketball been? Well, quite simply, number one in all basketball net units over the past year. And the NBA alone since last February, Teddy, you're up 51 games above 500. not bad. So you might want to get that NBA best bet for $2 at WagerTalk.com. And once again, 3 for $5 at SportsMemo.com. Today, Tuesday only. All right, let's take a 30-second commercial break. And when we come back, a little college hoops talk from Teddy Covers. Big game breakdown in half a minute.
June 2014, WagerTalk joined Twitter. August 2014, Prez loaded the first ever picks at WagerTalk. September 2014, Marco D'Angelo and Gianni the Greek filmed the first ever video for WagerTalk TV. Fast forward to today, and we now have over 58,000 Twitter followers, 110,000 subscribers on YouTube, and have become the premier brand in sports betting. So thank you. We truly appreciate everyone who has supported this amazing journey. And on Thursday, January 19th, at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, all daily picks packages that day will be priced at $11, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35. And all one-day all access, normally priced at $39, will be cut in half and priced at only $19. No coupons will be needed. All handicappers at both WagerTalk and SportsMemo are included in Customer Appreciation Day. And discounts will go live at midnight, Wednesday, January 18th.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk some college hoops for Tuesday night. SEC style. Ole Miss travels to South Carolina. We have seen a fair bit of sharp money on the Gamecocks this morning. This line was 6. Now we're looking at 5.5 pretty much across the board within the last half hour or so. We've seen a big move towards the home dog in this one. And look, South Carolina's been blown off the floor twice in their last 3 games. I mean, ugly blowout losses, non-competitive, over by halftime. It's a rebuilding season for the Gamecocks. There's going to be rough showings, for sure. But in between those 2 ugly blowout losses, the Gamecocks pulled the outright upset at Kentucky, the same Kentucky team that just beat Tennessee on Saturday. And, of course, South Carolina, not the team that needs to win by margin tonight. Ole Miss is, and Ole Miss is in a funk. All right, this team is 0-6 straight up, 0-6 against the spread since before Christmas. They lost as a 23-point favorite to North Alabama to start. They lost as a 5-point favorite to Georgia. They had a pair of losses in competitively priced games as well. It's not just they've been stepping up in class every time. Ole Miss played 3 true road games this season. They've lost all 3 by double-digit margins. Last year, the only meeting between these 2 teams went into overtime. All right. Ole Miss isn't playing good enough to lay this price on the highway. I know the Gamecocks are struggling. I know they're a dicey team. But the handicap starts with the favorite. And when you have a false favorite, the only choice is the dog. Look for South Carolina to hang tough in this one. No surprise they win it straight up. Give me the Gamecocks plus the points. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Yeah, and that game starts a little bit early. It's 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. So 6:30 Eastern start, not a 7 Eastern. So if you're watching this on the replay here on WagerTalk TV, make sure you get that South Carolina play in before 6:30 Eastern tonight. Top of the schedule on Tuesday. And Teddy, we're going to have a little Dave Sharapan in a moment here when he's able to join us. But I want to ask you right now, it's funny you talk about dogs in college hoops because I used a free play yesterday on North Carolina A&T. They're a new team in the CAA here. And the reason I did so was because for the second time in a week, I played against Hampton, the other new team in the CAA. I used the William & Mary Tribe, my William & Mary Tribe last Wednesday, a game I went to. Is the only time they've been favored all season. I thought they would rout a bad team when given the opportunity. North Carolina A&T did the same as a 5-point road favorite at Hampton. And what got me thinking about this was that Hampton's one of the 10 worst teams in all of college basketball, really bad this year. Yet they'll cover some games at some point. But you really almost have to look at these bad teams as big, big dogs. I mean, is there ever a time you're looking to take a big dog, an ugly double-digit dog here in the next couple of months, or are they just teams you stay away from in general?
There's one time of the year that I'm interested in backing ugly underdogs, and that's January in the college football season. I don't want them in November, December. The bad teams are bad. The markets don't necessarily catch on to how bad they are right away, and you'll see more than your share of ugly showings from bottom feeders, whether they're from major conferences or mid-major conferences. When it comes to late season play, February, all right, and into March, look, the teams that are bad, they're done. And at that point, it's playing out the string. But in January, when you have a bottom feeder that's been properly devalued in the betting marketplace, and now they're fighting in conference, at least at the start of conference play, there's hope, there's enthusiasm, there's energy. This right here is the time of year to play these type of underdogs, in my opinion. A month from now, you're not going to get me on South Carolina in this game. A month ago, you wouldn't have put me on South Carolina in this game. This is the sweet spot, in a sense, for some of the weaker teams where the effort is still there. They haven't been beaten down so much they're not coming anymore. And the marketplace is giving you max value with these squads. So that's my thought. Now I want to ask you a question. What do you think of last night's game? Tom Brady looking like a guy who was ready to go into retirement. Is that Brady's last game, yes or no?
It's funny, Teddy. When I was watching the game the second half, I was thinking about our show today. I was putting the schedule together, and I was going to ask you that same question. Did we see Tom Brady play his last game? But I was going to be more specific. Well, I think it's almost certain we saw him play his last game for Tampa. That's actually why I didn't ask you, because I think that's a 95%er. But I don't know now. I mean, it sounds like a lot of teams are interested in him. But keep in mind, though, and I thought about this as well, Tampa was the preseason conference favorite in a lot of sports books. I know you can't necessarily take the other side of that. You can in some spots, play the no at other prices. But when a guy retires and then comes back, that should be a real red flag. And it's something I'm going to keep an eye on in the future for handicapping. And they were the worst spread team in the league this year. And I don't know. I'd say it's 50. I'll make it even money. What do you make the odds that he plays somewhere next year?
No better than that. I mean, look, he gave up his marriage to come back for this season. And he was, Tom Brady was not good this year. At no point this season, you're like, hey, that's Tom Brady. But when a guy wants to play and someone's going to pay him to play, there'll be a place for Tom Brady around the league if somebody wants him. If he wants to play. There'll be a place for Brady if he decides to suit up. If I'm him, I don't do it. But Tom Brady isn't not like every decision he's made is 100% rational. Guy likes playing football, or he did before this year.
Well, I know a good guy to ask the odds on is a former odds maker and current sportsbook consigliere, and that's Dave Sharapan from the Las Vegas Strip. And it's interesting, Dave. It sounds like Teddy's taking under 50%. I think I'm going to take slightly over 50%. And the reason being, Teddy, is because, like you just said, his marriage is shot. I think actually that's one of the reasons he came back in the first place. I think that marriage was already on thin ice. And I think actually, to be honest, I think the reason he retired in the first place, my theory, is to try to save the marriage, maybe. I think he wanted to still play. So now you got to figure he probably wants that distraction of football. But two ways to look at it. I've made a case for both sides. I'm 50-50, I guess. But what are your thoughts, Dave?
What's up, boys? Good to see you. No drama Tuesday. Good to know. Prez is not here, but yeah, this Prez free zone. I'm good with it. Yeah. All right, it's fine. Is Brady coming back? He's not coming back in Tampa. That's
I agree.
Clear. There's no chance he's coming back to play in Tampa after what I saw last night after the game in his post-game press conference. But there's a lot of talk of him going to Miami, and with Tua's status and health status and things like that, I guess that's a possibility. There's talk of him coming to Vegas and reuniting with Josh McDaniel one more time with all the parts in place. I mean, they got the running back if they bring Jacobs back. They got the tight end that can recreate what Gronk did. They got Devontae Adams. They got a great offense. I don't know. I don't think he's done. I think we're going to see Tom Brady have to be carted off the field or pulled off the field or told you can't play anymore physically. So that's why you got to be done. It's all he has now, right? So, plus he did 40 days. He did 40 days taking the kids to school, PTA meetings, and all that other stuff, and said, I'm going back to play football. I mean, it's a hard job. We all do it. It ain't easy doing that stuff. So he said, to hell with this. I'm going back to play football. I'll figure out how to throw it away and not get hit. But he can't even slide anymore. It's crazy.
40 days was enough. Let's talk about what's going on in the betting markets for this weekend in the NFL. Obviously, 4 divisional round games. Tell me what you're seeing in terms of the betting markets right now. Where's the sharp money going? Who are the Joes going to like? Who are the pros going to like? What are you hearing from your sportsbook director friends? Let's break down these 4 games, as best you can.
This is the best weekend of football for me. Every year, I love divisional weekend because you get 4 games spaced out perfectly. Now, they changed the schedule a little bit, sort of time-wise, but, you have everybody's attention. The handle on these games is gigantic, and you have really good teams. So, hopefully, we get at least 2 just iconic games. I mean, I don't know if anything could live up to Buffalo and Kansas City last year in this round, but let's hope so. So, Jacksonville, Kansas City, the books open the number high. 1, because Kansas City's going to be in every single teaser, but some books, I heard Caesars is done taking football teasers for the rest of the year. They just said, the hell with it. We're not doing any more teasers because every teaser combination this past weekend, except Tampa plus the points, won. Like you could take teams down, up. The totals flew over, but all the overs happened except last night. So Jacksonville, Kansas City, they got the number they needed. 9 was the peak. It's down. It's 8.5 pretty much now. I think it's going to creep back up throughout the week. I mean, who's going to bet Jacksonville in that spot? I don't know. A lot of people don't make that mistake of falling in love with the wild card winners. Seen it for years. The team with the bye has a huge advantage. We just don't know. Jacksonville's a wild card. How did they win that football game? Whole nother story. Giants can go beat Philly. The Giants can go beat Philly. There's no question about it. They have something. I saw Dable dancing with those guys after the game. That's a team that's on the same page. It's a joy to see when sports work and everybody buys in and you have success, you can do anything. And it wouldn't behoove me personally to see the Giants even get to the Super Bowl with those Super Bowl exacta bets. There were some numbers in town that just didn't even make any sense, and little small position on Giants to even get there. Buffalo and Cincinnati. I mean, Sunday's the main dish. If Saturday is the appetizer, Sunday's the main dish. Cincy and Buffalo, we've been waiting for weeks to see it. We didn't get to see it when DeMar got hurt. Thank God that kid's okay. That one shook me to the core, I just wanted that kid to get up, and now I'm happy he got out of the hospital. I don't care if he doesn't play another down of football. I was so relieved. But you saw the pressure that Buffalo's under. Miami almost beat him with Skylar Thompson. Allen makes mistakes. But since he doesn't have some offensive linemen, it's come out last night, Sunday night, the first move was on Buffalo at 3.5, 4. Now it's painted 5 everywhere. I don't know. I'm not sold that Josh Allen isn't going to make that crucial mistake and cost them a game. And it feels like a field goal game. So Cincy there is, I think, as live as could be. And then Dallas, San Francisco. I mean, we're all old enough to remember all the wars that these two teams had, both in Dallas and San Francisco. They had to beat each other to get to the last step, to get to the Super Bowl. This is the game of the week. This is going to be the one that, man, there's a lot of guys I know, I really respect their opinion, have tickets on Dallas, not just to win the NFC, but to win the Super Bowl. Dallas is live, but San Francisco is the juggernaut. San Francisco is the public choice. A lot of respected opinion around Dallas. I think the line's perfect. I was going back and forth with some guys in a book last night. They said, what are you making? I said, you want to take the first bet on San Francisco, make it 3.5. If you want to take the first bet on Dallas, make it 4, 4.5, and see where it goes. The market spoke, and they took the points. So I can't wait. It's a great, great weekend. It's my favorite weekend of the year for football.
Yeah, and obviously, Dave, it's a little early for my Fade the Public playoffs edition, but
yeah,
the Giants are looking like a definite public dog this week. Maybe the most public play of the week as a dog. So interesting, especially being the 7.5, as you mentioned. It's such a key number. By the way, Johnny Detroit, the great Johnny Detroit in Detroit, no relation, found it before I could find it. I was searching for some Tom Brady odds. I saw them before the games this week, and I actually have them saved in my spreadsheet. But those have obviously changed. But what I was trying to find were any books that gave you the option that he does not play for anyone. But I can't find that. But DraftKings, Johnny sent it to us, does have odds on the next team. 2-1 Tampa. Once again, they're not letting you take the other side. So I think those odds are not very good bet. Raiders 2.5 to 1. Here's a team we didn't mention. This is pretty interesting. The 49ers 3.5 to 1. That kind of makes, I don't like that either. They're not I would take the other side of Tampa or the 49ers at those prices.
Yeah.
Right.
Patriots,
Yeah.
7.5 to 1 with New England. If Belichick is still there, that is kind of interesting. Dolphins, 7.5. Giants, 9 to 1. Jets, 9 to 1. Titans, 15 to 1. But here's the one I heard on the radio today is at 40 to 1. And I think this is worth a flyer. The Baltimore Ravens. I think that's a bad number. Your thoughts on that, Dave and Teddy, as well?
Whoa.
I mean, I don't know if these are current or if this is from the other day, but I mean, Baltimore is not going to have Lamar Jackson. I don't think, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know.
I don't know what's going on with Lamar. That's a whole nother thing. A lot of people are talking about that. I don't blame him at all for what he did, as far as even whether he was able to play or not. But Baltimore was right there. I mean, Baltimore is maybe a stable quarterback, whether it's Lamar or not, from being a Super Bowl team. They're right there.
Right.
I mean, they won a lot of games. It's ugly. It's not the pretty football that, a lot of people like with all the overs. They play ugly games and run the football. Football's coming back to that. It's going to take a little while, but teams can play that way and win. As long as you don't turn the ball over, that's part of the battle. So I don't think there's a chance in hell that Tom Brady is going to Baltimore at all.
Vegas is the second favorite, and I'd make us the first favorite.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a nice
this place
to
will
live,
get interesting,
even when it's free.
Sure, it'll get interesting here, Teddy. If Tom Brady is the quarterback, it's going to put everybody on notice. They can't win 6 games again. I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure coming into the AFC West with the Chargers, who are right there, despite the fact that they can't close games and they blow games. And Herbert's for real. That team's for real. And Kansas City's, they're the number 1 seed. They're the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. So we'll see.
With Tom Brady as quarterback,
yep,
Las Vegas would be lined right. I think it'd be lined as a last place team. Maybe right with Denver. Maybe below Denver in the AFC West.
Russell Wilson,
Tom Brady's not moving the needle.
Yeah. Aging quarterback,
He's not
absolutely
moving the needle anymore in the betting markets.
And people will all bet the over. That's the best part.
Now, Dave, it's a Prez free zone today, but I do feel obliged because we've covered. Look, this show is Sports Center for gambling. All right.
Yeah.
We've talked college hoops. We've talked NFL. We've talked some NBA. Let's talk NHL. Tell me what's going on the betting board tonight. Anything stand out to you? Where's the sharp money going? Where's the square money?
Well, every night I'm on with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart in the first 2 hours, and then with Dubsy and Joe Ranieri for the last hour. The first period NHL overs have been last week on Tuesday 4-0, Wednesday 10-0. They went 15-0 until they lost. But between Tuesday and Saturday, first period's over, were 36-10. I got guys betting it that never bet hockey. They started watching the show. They were betting it just blindly, just going in and betting every first period over. You're seeing scoring in the NHL that cannot be explained, especially early. There's a lot of first goal or goal in the first 10-minute props and all kind of things. Very interesting stuff. Today's board, it's a lot of it's a lot of teams that are actually closely rated. Seattle's a live dog at Edmonton. Edmonton's playing as good as anybody. Seattle was on a road trip from hell, had played back east, won every game on the road trip. That's a great game tonight. That game's going over, okay? 6.5 is the total right now. The juice is starting to move up, but getting a little egregious. And I think there'll be some books that just say, the hell with it, we're going to have to go to 7. So 6.5 there. Anaheim's the worst team in hockey. Philly is one of the best teams in hockey to the puck line. I think you can safely play the Flyers today on the puck line. And again, it's not a major thing. They're a $2 favorite. Florida-Toronto is the game of the day as far as contenders. That's a really good game. And it feels to me it's a little bit overpriced with Toronto. I think Florida is live there as a dog. So That's just a look today, but in general, look at those first periods. Cannot believe how those are just blindly being played and going over. Dallas to win the West, too. Trying to determine with some guys that I also really respect who's going to come out of the West, because I don't think it's Vegas. As much as the odds say Vegas is the first or second choice, behind Colorado, I don't think Vegas is winning the West.
Nice little futures play from Dave Sharapan,
Yep.
and you can find him on Twitter at SportsBKConsig, SportsBKConsig. And Dave, we got about a minute left, so real quick, I'll ask you, any college or pro hoops jump out at you tonight for Tuesday?
Well, I mean, I'm wearing all the Philly stuff for newbie and all the Sixers people, but the Sixers are playing the Clippers tonight. Huge move already came on the Clippers. They went from being a dog to being a favorite. I'm not buying it. The Sixers won a very close game against the Lakers and LeBron, and they were 3-point favorites. When that game closed, it went up a little bit, and now the Clippers are getting bet. The Clippers are one of the best teams, arguably maybe the best team in the West. Sneaky. Golden State, when fully healthy, forget about it. But leaning Sixers right there. And I got this because I always wear the hats and stuff, but when I talk basketball anymore, we're going to the headband look. And I try to figure out who I look like with the headband, whether it's I got Alex Caruso, I got Mike Bibby for the old guys, Curly Neal for the Globetrotters. But there's one that they got me with really good. It's Elmer Fudd from Space Jam. There's a picture of Elmer Fudd, and I was like, you know what? Kind of looks like Elmer Fudd. But Brooklyn and San Antonio tonight too. That's a good game. Toronto, Milwaukee, a good betting opportunity. Toronto coming off at overtime. I think you get Giannis playing. Bucks.
Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting winners.
Nice.
It's a great one, Elmer Fudd. I love it.
Love it.
If you like Dave Sharapan, you can see more Dave Sharapan on Sports Grid TV. Yep. You can listen to him. If you don't want to see him, just listen to him on Sirius XM 159, channel 159. You hear the audio version. But I recommend watching the video and audio with Gabe and company. And Dave, where else can people find you? You're everywhere. Yeah,
so every day, Monday through Friday, we're doing Bostonian versus the book. We were with a company called props.com. That company is no longer we're not partners or working with them anymore, so we're on our own. But you can find that. Search Bostonian versus the book. There's a link to it every day with my partner, Matt Peralt. He's the co-host. We do that. And then Sports Grid and Sirius XM every day. 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, me, Gabe, and Cam. We swinging around there, in-game live, talking about odds, plays, different things. We have guests. Merrill, you've been on the show with us. Teddy, you're too busy, but that's fine. We'll figure out a way to get you on there. And then MLB Network and stuff. We're 1 month away from pitchers and catchers reporting, boys. We're gonna get some baseball futures. There's books that put out win totals. We're working on some stuff there as well.
I got to sneak on tonight. I'm going to sneak on tonight and talk to you guys. I'm coaching 5 basketball teams as of this week, Dave. I know you're proud of me, but I'm going to actually have an opening. Yeah, I'll tell you later off air. Yeah, I've got a personal best. Match that one now. I'm trying to better Sharapan in his 2 or 3 teams that he has to coach on a weekly basis. But yeah, I might see you guys tonight.
Spring season's getting ready. It's a lot of work. But
softball time, baseball time.
When Prez watched back the show, Prez, I hope you're having fun. Wear the sunscreen, please. And thanks, boys, for having me. Cash considerations, too. Me, newbie, some cast of characters there. We're working on some things for the new year. You can follow along there. And 8 in the Box is also my other show on the Cash Considerations Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks, boys. That's it. That's all I got.
He's the busiest man in sports betting, Dave Sharapan. But yeah, the best way to keep in touch is on Twitter at SportsBKConsig. Dave Sharapan. Teddy, great show. We'll do it again tomorrow on Wednesday. Don't forget $2 Tuesday. Teddy covers right now. WagerTalk.com, 3 for 5, SportsMemo.com. Teddy, take us home.
That's going to wrap it for the Tuesday edition. Enjoy the games. Good luck with all your wagers.
June 2014, WagerTalk joined Twitter. August 2014, Prez loaded the first ever picks at WagerTalk. September 2014, Marco D'Angelo and Gianni the Greek filmed the first ever video for WagerTalk TV. Fast forward to today, and we now have over 58,000 Twitter followers, 110,000 subscribers on YouTube, and have become the premier brand in sports betting. So thank you. We truly appreciate everyone who has supported this amazing journey. And on Thursday, January 19th, at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, all daily picks packages that day will be priced at $11, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35. And all one-day all access, normally priced at $39, will be cut in half and priced at only $19. No coupons will be needed. All handicappers at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo are included in Customer Appreciation Day. And discounts will go live at midnight Wednesday, January 18th.